Hi guys, tonight we're making sausage and apple stuffed acorn squash. Alright, so someone sent me a recipe that I can use for this acorn squash, and so I'm going to try that. The first step is to cut the top, the bottom, cut the top off, cut the bottom off, and then I have to slice it in half, so let's do that. Let's see. This is pretty tough. Guess my knife isn't sharp enough. Need to sharpen. Yeah, that's the top. Let's cut the bottom off. And the purpose of doing this is to create a flat base. So it doesn't roll around on me. So now the next step is to cut this in half. Let's do this carefully. Let the knife do the work. Don't follow my cutting techniques, please. Alright, so now I have it cut in half. The next step is to scoop out the inside. Alright, that looks pretty clean, so let's do the other half. Alright, so let's get all this cleaned up and the floor, and I'll be back. I decided to, before I move on to the next step with the, actually no, never mind. The next step is to drizzle with olive oil. I feel like I was yelling just now. I'm going to drizzle with olive oil. And then I'm going to season with salt and pepper. Oh man. I'm putting this in the oven for about 40 minutes. So while the acorn is in the oven, I'm going to cut this onion and prepare to cook it. So I was surprised to see this white onion that they sent, because in the last few packets when they've sent onions, it's been a yellow onion or a red onion. So I don't even know what this recipe calls for. It just says onion. It doesn't specify which one, so we're going with it. Let's cut this. Let's see. I'm trying to learn the claw, but I'm no good at it. Although I know it's a much safer method to make sure my fingers don't get caught if the knife slips. I'm going to cut up this celery. I've never looked up the proper way to cut celery, but I'm cutting off the ends just because that seems to be what you do with vegetables. And then I'm going to cut, I don't want this so big, so let's try cutting it in half. And then in smaller pieces. The last thing I need to cut is the apple. This one has a soft spot, so I'm going to cut that off. And this may still be enough, but I have a bag of them if not. No apple left behind. Forgot to thaw the meat out, and actually I purchased this to make some zuppa Toscana, coming soon to a quarantine chef show near you. But this is still frozen, so I'm going to thaw in the microwave and then throw it in the skillet to cook. While I'm waiting on the meat to defrost, I'm going to add a little oil to my pan. So I have my oil heating up. I'm going to add in the celery and the onions and cook these for about 5 minutes. Seasoning to the onions and celery, a little salt, some pepper, and some rosemary leaves. Alright, so I've pushed the peppers and celery to the side, and now I'm going to add the ground beef to the center, and I'm going to let this cook. Added some garlic. So the sausage has started to brown. I'm going to mix everything in and continue to cook this until the sausage, continue to cook this mixture until the sausage is done. So the sausage is done. I'm now going to add in the apples and the stubborn onions that were still on the plate. I'm going to add in some breadcrumbs. And the last thing is Parmesan cheese. I only have grated. I wish I had shredded, but I'm going to add a generous amount because I like cheese. Now that everything is all mixed in, I'm going to remove from the heat and wait on the squash in the oven to finish. Alright, so I just pulled these out of the oven. They are soft when I put my fork in there. And so the next step is to add the stuffing. So I'm going to scoop this. Alright, so that's good. Now I'm going to put this back in the oven for 15 minutes and take it out, put Parmesan over it, 5 more minutes, and then it will be time to eat. Timer just went off. I'm going to sprinkle some Parmesan on here and let these cook for 5 more minutes. Alright, so it is time to try this. You know what? I didn't look up whether or not I can eat the skin. Most vegetables you can, even though a lot of people don't. So I'm going to eat the skin. This is acorn squash stuffed with apples, sausage, and some onions and stuff in there. So let's get a little of everything on the fork. Cool it down just a little. And let's taste. It's pretty good. The squash is really soft. I wasn't expecting that. But there's some crunch, I guess, from the apple. And then with the breadcrumbs being mixed into it, there's some crunch there. So I can take the texture of it. Let's do another bite. I like it. One of my Facebook friends sent me this recipe after seeing my video yesterday that I got the acorn squash, and I was asking for some recipes. So, thanks. It's good. I'm going to finish eating. Not both of them. One of them tonight, one tomorrow for lunch. But I'll finish eating, and I'll see you guys in the next video.